Hi, I'm Jason Houtsma, guitar instructor for WorshipArtistry.com, and we have partnered with SongSelect to bring you this free acoustic guitar tutorial for our arrangement of Hark the Herald, Angels Sing. Now it's going to consist of a full band arrangement, as well as a walkthrough of the chord shapes, the rhythm, a walkthrough of the full chart together, and then finally a solo acoustic section to just help you with the dynamic if you're having to lead it on your own. If you'd like the full band tutorial for all the instruments, as well as practice loops, which you'll hear me mention in the lesson, as well as transposable sheet music and tablature for each instrument, be sure to check out worshipartistry.com/Christmas and you can get it for free. All right, let's get started.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by high is heaven adored, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time, behold him come, offspring of a virgin's womb. Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see, held the incarnate deity. Pleased as man with man to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hail the heaven-born Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings, risen with healing in his wings. Mild he lays his glory by, born that man no more may die. Born to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Our song is in the key of F. We have a few different versions of chords as we go, and don't be overwhelmed by the kind of chords. I think you'll see in this section as we go through it, you'll see how the chord changes happen and really come together and aren't maybe as challenging as they might look on the chord chart. So we're going to start with an F chord, and for all these chords, even though we're playing the full chord shape, we're going to be kind of staying in this lower range, and that's one of the things that makes this a little bit simpler than it looks. So starting with that F chord, we're going to have our pointer finger on that B string, middle on the second of the G, pinky on the D, and ring finger on the third fret of the A string, taking care to mute that low E string. But as we're playing this, we're mostly just going to be playing on these lower strings. So you don't have to worry about muting so carefully on that high E because you probably won't even hit it. Okay, so there's your F. Next we're going to have we have a regular G chord, and we're just going to kind of play the folkier G. And I'm going to show you, the chord shape will show that pinky there on the third fret of the E, and the ring finger on the low E, muting that A string. But we don't get all the way up there. So once again, as long as we mute that A string, that G down there is going to be just fine. Same thing with our G minor. Ring and pinky are going to go to your B and G string here on the second fret. Middle finger will go on the third fret of the low E. We're going to mute that A. D rings out. We hear those. And we also mute that low E. And once again, it's a really quick passing chord, so even if you only catch that bass note, you'll kind of get away with it. But there's your G minor. Next for our A, we're going to play an A minor 7. Pointer finger is going to be on the first fret of the B, middle on the second of the D. A string's open, but we're going to get the thumb over the top. to mute that low E string. We're also going to have an F over A, so that's going to be pointer, middle, and ring, just in a line there, but we're going to leave the A string open. And actually, I find using the pinky actually works better, just because where it lands in the song. But it's up to you, you can do this one either way. Main thing is we want to mute that low E string. For our B flat, the shape, the full shape would be kind of this bar chord. However, we're just playing those bottom couple strings. So what I'm doing is I'm actually just hitting the first of the A. My pinky's on the D string on the third, and I'm just kind of muting everything else. So the low E is muted, the G is muted, because we change these kind of like, it just kind of all stays on that lower range. We have a G over B. Full shape would be pinky on that third fret of the E, middle finger on the second of the A, muting the low E string. However, this is another one that you change so fast, it's okay to only hit those bottom couple strings. Just make sure you mute that low E string. We're also going to have our regular C chord, pointer fingers on the first fret of the B, middle on the second of the D, ring on the third of the A, taking care to mute that low E string. For our D, we have both a D minor 7. We'll stay in this position. We're just going to bar those two strings. Middle finger will go to the G. D is going to be open. Okay to hit the A. And once again, as long as we're strumming relatively precisely, we don't even need to worry about muting that low E with our thumb, but it doesn't hurt. You also have a D major chord. So middle fingers on the E, ring on the third of the B, pointer on the G. D is open. Okay to hit the A. We're going to mute that low E string. But once again, we're going to be staying on that lower range, so those changes can happen really fast. You can almost play like a D2 shape and not worry about that high E string. And that brings us back to F. All right, let's take a look at the rhythm. Our rhythm on this song is simple from the standpoint that it's all just eighth note down strums, just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But the key things that we need to pay attention to are that we are playing kind of in the lower range of the chords. So that's what allows us to kind of have some faster changes. And because some of the changes are so fast, I want to point out kind of how they happen. So let's just go ahead and pull up the chord chart. Let's look at that first verse. We're just keeping that down strum going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. When we get those 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So what we're doing, because those changes happen quickly, we want to be changing on the and beforehand. So we're going 1 and 2 and 3. See how I lift up there? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Same thing with that next line. We've got peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. So they seem kind of fast, but you make sure, as long as you change on the end, you'll be fine. Once again, God and sinners reconciled. It helps that that these notes kind of ring really well, so even when you play it slowly, it sounds okay. Then as you play on through it, we're just joyful, all ye nations rise. So just stay on those lower strings. Just kind of using that pinky as an anchor. The host, same thing there. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald, angels sing. Glory to the newborn King. And then we have this little intro section as well. And that's basically working from an F chord, and then it opens that G string to an F2. So it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then repeats. So just and 4 is open and then right back in. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So what I gave you below is I actually gave you loops of that entire first stanza, just so you can kind of really hear how those changes happen. I gave you 3 speeds, slowed it down enough so you can really hear how they happen. So really try and lock in with that section, really work that. And then I also gave you a loop of the intro, just so that once you're kind of up to speed with the other things, then you can just kind of work that section on its own if you'd like. So go ahead and get that a shot, really dial it in, and then let's take a look at the walkthrough. Right in off the bat on this one, main thing to watch for is those hits on that third stanza. We'll call them out when we get there. And the other thing to be aware of is that this has a 2 bar in it. On the newborn king, that's a 2 count. So I'll count that as we go so you can kind of hear it. You've heard this song a million times. Sure, it feels really natural, but that's why the accent isn't there on the metronome. All right, let's take it from the top. From the intro. 2, 3, 4. And 4 and 1. And 4 and 1. And 4 and 1. 2. Verse 1. Hark. Glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild. God and sinners reconciled. Joyful. Join the triumph of the skies with host proclaim Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald, angels sing, glory to the newborn intro. Christ in highest, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time, behold him come, offspring of a virgin's womb. Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see. Hail the incarnate deity. Pleased with man to dwell. Jesus, our Emmanuel. Hark the herald, angels sing, glory to the newborn intro. Verse 3, 2, 3, 4. Hail the heaven, hail the Son of righteousness, light and life to all he brings, risen with healing in his wings. All clouds he lays his glory by, born that man no more may die, born to raise the sons of earth, born to give second birth. Hark the herald, angels sing, glory to the newborn King. 2, 3, and 4 and 1. So it's just the same thing straight throughout. Give that a shot. If you've got it at that speed, try it along with the music video. Now let's take a look at the solo acoustic section and look at how we can make this more dynamic if we're playing it just on our own. Songs like this are kind of tricky when you're playing them on your own, because especially when they're driving like they are, if you're the only player, it can just get really old to the ear. So we need to find some ways to make it a little more interesting. Fortunately, everyone loves to sing Christmas songs, most everyone, and so they'll take it away. You just really need to create a bed for it. However, we can still be a little bit dynamic. So let's go ahead and look at that verse. I think initially, you want to go a little quieter. Hark the herald, angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy, just with those one strums. God and sinners reconcile. Joyful all ye nations rise. Join the triumph of the skies. And you can start coming with some rhythm. Like host proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald, angels sing, glory to the newborn King. You gotta put some emphasis. And then verse 2 really start kind of taking. Is heaven adored? Christ the everlasting Lord. You want to every time on this section. Probably verse 3, I'd go real heavy, like Christ, I adore Christ, the everlasting. And just kind of keep it nice and open throughout the rest of the song. Just some ways that we can adjust it a little bit and give a little bit more dynamic as we're leading folks in the song. Enjoy.